That's Justin Ritzel. And this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for Wednesday, November 17, 2021. Robert Harding still on parental leave. I guess baby Layla's doing good. Robert's doing good. Sarah's doing good, which is the most important person in, because she had to go through childbirth and everything, which is never a picnic. But if you follow Robert on Twitter, he's posting baby pictures. Baby Layla looks cute, and we miss Robert. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do miss Robert, but we do have his picks, and we'll get into those soon. So we'll start off the show. We'll talk a little Syracuse men's basketball. Syracuse has played 2 games. Drexel and Lafayette, not exactly a who's who of college basketball, but still 2 solid opponents. And they've come up with 2 good wins, although they were, a little dicey against Drexel. I watched a good chunk of that game on Sunday, and they were down by 1 at the half, and they came out firing in the second half and won pretty pretty easily. So, I'm going to be writing a column about Syracuse basketball for the Citizen. It'll be running this coming weekend. And, Syracuse basketball, this is, I guess you want to call this, if you're a fan, a dream season. It kind of reminds me of that Syracuse football season years ago when they had Greg Paulus as the quarterback for 1 year. He was a graduate student, and, he was one of the highest touted prospects coming out of the Syracuse area for a long time. And he went to Duke and played basketball. And then he came back to Syracuse and played 1 year of football. And a little bit of a different situation, obviously, but the older Boeheim, Jack Boeheim, is, he's a graduate student at SU. He played basketball at Cornell, and now he's playing 1 year for his dad and with his brother. And I think some fans are hoping that this is some type of dream season where Syracuse goes back to the Final Four, and it's a Boeheim fest and everything. And everybody's all excited about it. And I get that. I would say, though, that let's tap the brakes on the Final Four, whatever. Let's see how things develop early on. There's a tough early season schedule before the ACC starts. The Battle of Atlantis is going on, and I'm kind of curious how Joe Girard is going to be doing. And he had a good second half last weekend against Drexel. I think Girard, to be honest with you, is the key to this season for Syracuse because he's the point guard. Everything goes through him. And, he struggled his first couple of years. Junior year, you figure things are going to start to come together for him. I think so far, so good. And I think that's going to be the key to Syracuse having success this year is Joe Girard and how he runs the offense at the point for the Orange. Go ahead, Justin, your thoughts on Syracuse hoops.
Yeah, Chris, you mentioned dream season. I think this is really a year where the ACC is wide open. It's kind of a conference that's in a bit of transition. You got Roy Williams is no longer with North Carolina. Mike Krzyzewski is on his way out. And really the ACC, like you look at those 2 blue blood programs, and they're the only 2 that are currently, ranked in the top 25 for whatever that means, less than 2 weeks into the season. But Syracuse is a veteran team between Buddy Boeheim and, as you mentioned, Joe Girard, a third-year player now. You'd hope that he's kind of eliminated a lot of the mistakes from his game. I've always kind of compared him not only in his game style, but obviously being from Glens Falls to like a Jimmer Fredette. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Jimmer Fredette, who was a college basketball sensation, but I think you can look at Fredette during his college basketball career, and it took 2-3 years for him to really settle in and become an effective player. And I don't see why Girard can't follow the same path. But what's going to be key for Syracuse is the continuity, and obviously adding Jimmy Boeheim. I don't know who Jack Boeheim is, Chris.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I get my
lucky Robert's not here to point that out to you. He'd probably be a little less kind about it than I am. But I think this is a reason to be excited for Syracuse basketball. Just the nature of the conference, and like you said, nothing really matters until you get to ACC play, and we'll see how they really stack up. But I think this can be an exciting season for the Orange. And as we know, like whenever they get to the tournament, they always tend to do better than maybe their regular season record indicates, because teams just struggle so much with the zone. So hey, why not? I'm not predicting like a Final Four appearance by any means, but I think Syracuse is going to be in the mix, and I don't see any reason why they can't at least replicate what they did last season.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And, this is one of those seasons where I think that people are just so excited. They're so optimistic. And I truly think that if Syracuse has an incredible season, maybe Jim Boeheim might actually retire. I really believe that if he has a great finish this season, he might say, something, I'm 78. I had a chance to coach my kids. I think that's one of the reasons why he stuck around, is I think he wanted that opportunity. I think he kind of knew early on, maybe a few years ago, that he would have the opportunity to at least coach one of his sons, and now he's got both of them. So I think if they have a great finish, I think that this could be it for Boeheim. But then again, I think a lot of people have been predicting that for years and years, and they've been wrong. So who am I to say, yeah, this is definitely going to happen? It's all speculation, but it would be kind of a dream to see him go out on top, maybe a Final Four possibly.
Well, no one's going to kick Boeheim out of town. Like we all know, they're going to let him. As long as he wants to coach, they're going to let him. They're going to let him do it. I do think, as you said, Jimmy's a graduate student. He's going to be there for 1 year, and then he'll be done. And then Buddy, I would imagine this would be his last year with Syracuse too. Like there were whispers, after he got so hot during the postseason run last year, just shooting the ball, and there was whispers like, oh, is Buddy Boeheim kind of like intriguing NBA prospect? Would he leave Syracuse and enter the draft? Obviously, he chose not to do that, but you got to figure if he has another season, reminiscent of what he did in the second half last year, why not try and go make some money? And if both of his sons are no longer playing, you kind of wonder for Jim Boeheim, like what's there left to accomplish. So,
well, he is a senior, by the way, so I think this is it. This is it. I mean, this is the last hurrah for the Boeheim boys. I mean, the players, not the coach, obviously. So we'll see. All right, let's move along to the NFL and our takeaways from Week 10 and what we're looking forward to in Week 11. My takeaway from Week 10 is that this is probably the most parity-filled year of the NFL. I might have mentioned this. I might have had this as a takeaway weeks ago, but it's even more now. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, they're the best NFL teams only have 2 losses. There's no one really dominating. Nobody's undefeated in November, which, of course, that's not to be unexpected, but there's no one-loss teams. The AFC North and the AFC West, all the teams in those 2 divisions are within a game of each other, basically, in the win column. I mean, it is crazy how wide open this is. And, this is what makes the NFL. What makes it the best sport on television is that you can never predict it. You have all these underdogs that were beating favorites last weekend. I mean, it all started off with my Miami Dolphins knocking off the Ravens last Thursday night, and just continued on the Washington football team beating the Buccaneers. And it was insane, some of these games, the way the underdogs are outright beating favorites, serious favorites. And I mean, if you're an NFL fan, you've got to be thrilled for the next 6 or 7 weeks coming up, how this is going to come down to the wire. Obviously, Justin, your Green Bay Packers are sitting pretty. They have the number 1 seed, I believe, in the NFC right now. They're 8-2. So, yep, of course, representing the Bay. And it's just exciting and thrilling to see all of this parity and competitive games and fun and everything, and see how it ends up. Now, my look ahead to next week is tomorrow night's game, New England at Atlanta. All of a sudden, the Patriots are the second hottest team in the NFL. The Titans have won 6 in a row. The Patriots have won 4 in a row, and they are right nipping at the heels of the Bills. I mean, the Bills have to be thinking, like, what do we have to do to get rid of these guys? Tom Brady leaves the division last year, and and they haven't even played the Patriots yet. That's the crazy thing. I mean, if the Bills lose both those games to the Patriots, they're not going to win the division. they're going to make the playoffs unless something really goes off the rails. But a few weeks ago, everybody was thinking Buffalo was a surefire number one seed, the AFC, and the road to the Super Bowl was going to run through Orchard Park, and the Bills were just, I don't think going to coast, but they're going to have a pretty easy path to get to the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, they may not even win that division. And to me, what the Patriots are doing, of course, Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels and, Mac Jones has been solid. He hasn't been spectacular, but he's been solid. And of course, the Patriots, the key to, at least in my words, in my opinion, is their defense. Their defense, sometimes has a bad game here or there, but overall, you're going to have a very stout defense in New England. And that is what's getting it done, even with basically a rookie quarterback for the Patriots. So my look ahead is the Patriots. I mean, they win tomorrow night at Atlanta, and that's definitely a game they should win. All of a sudden that AFC East gets even tighter, and there's more pressure on the Bills, and we'll see how the Bills respond to that. Go ahead, Justin, your takeaways and look ahead.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on your comments, first off on the Patriots, but let's not single out the Bills. Like, your favorite team is also in the AFC East, and everyone else in that division just got to be like kicking themselves. Like, we finally get rid of Tom Brady, and everyone knows, your team knows, the Bills know how tough it is to get a quarterback that you can rely on that can lead you to wins. And the Patriots suffer through one season, and now all of a sudden they have the next guy that they feel good about. It's like, I'm not by any means saying Mac Jones is going to be Tom Brady, but it's just, there was almost no suffering by Patriots fans looking for the next quarterback. They got 5 good games out of Cam Newton. Last year was kind of a wash season. Then they draft Mac Jones with not even like a high first round pick. He was in the middle of the first round, and he looks like a home run. So it's just got to be almost miserable times for teams in the AFC East who have just been watching their teams get pounded by the Patriots for 20 years. And, we get 1 year off from worrying about the evil empire. And now here they come again. And, who knows where this is going to go? Bill Belichick is obviously, an older head coach. He's not going to stick around for another 20, 25 years, but, I think you can certainly draw some parallels to the 2021 Patriots to the 2001 Patriots. Not predicting they're going to go and win the Super Bowl and shock everyone, but they do kind of have that similar feel about them. Just a solid, well-coached team with a quarterback who doesn't really make mistakes. You never know, especially the way the AFC is shaping up this year. So my takeaway is I really want to talk about the Rams, because for the last couple of weeks, they trade for Von Miller. They sign your boy Odell Beckham, and everyone is like, just, oh, well, can't cancel the playoffs. The Rams are stacked. No one's going to beat them. Everyone forgets they're not even winning their division. Even before these acquisitions, they still got housed by the Cardinals, a month ago, and we're still a wild card team. Everyone forgets that. There's definitely reason to be concerned about the Rams, especially if they can't come back and win the division, because one, you have a quarterback who, and I've been saying this for years, okay? Like, this is no surprise to me, the way Matt Stafford's throwing away games with stupid interceptions. He's been doing that his whole career. But you have a quarterback who, let's be honest, has never won a big game. Every time they're in prime time, he shrinks. That was always the case with the Lions. He's done that a couple times with the Rams this year. He's just, as talented as Matt Stafford is, he is not the most mentally equipped quarterback in terms of, he makes mistakes. He'll throw balls that he shouldn't throw. When he's under pressure, he'll throw the ball for grabs. And just quarterbacks like that, it's hard to trust them through 4 rounds of the playoffs to not make a crucial mistake. And let's be honest, even though it was a tough week for the NFC, it's still a very top-heavy conference. You're going to have 5 teams really that I think are kind of a cut above everyone. Dallas, Green Bay, Arizona, Tampa Bay, and LA. And if LA is the lone wild card team out of that group, you're going on the road to play at least 3 of those other teams. So I just don't see a path for the Rams if they don't win the division. And they're a team that went all in this year to win. Like, they threw away first-round draft picks, second-round draft picks. This is it. So if they don't get it done this year, I'd be a little worried about their immediate future, 2022 and beyond. So I guess to kind of follow up on that for this upcoming week, I'm just looking to see what teams in the NFC bounce back and kind of separates themselves from the pack, because it was a tough week in the conference. Green Bay won an ugly game. Dallas came back and whooped the Falcons after getting whooped by the Broncos. But the Rams, who are on a bye, the Buccaneers, and the Cardinals, who have been without Kyler Murray, all had kind of rough losses. I think it's going to be important for those teams to step up and rebound this week if they want to have, just kind of re-legitimize themselves in the conference.
Okay, well, let's get to our picks. Let's recap last week first. Not our best week, obviously. We've been struggling all
None of them have been our best week, Chris.
No, you and I both went 1-3. Robert with the donut, the 0 for 4. Oh, if only he was here right now. 0 for 4. All right, I'm tempting the faith by doing this, but anyways, let's get right to it. Our first game is Robert's Buffalo Bills. They're 7-point favorites at home against the Colts. I have Robert's picks. He is picking the Bills to cover the hefty 7-point spread. Didn't the Bills play the Colts last year in the playoffs? And didn't the Colts hang tough to the end? And I understand it was with Phillip Rivers. This is with Carson Wentz. And the Colts are coming off a horrible loss and everything. Frank Reich, former Bills backup quarterback who led the greatest comeback in NFL history back in 1993. I think he knows Buffalo, or knows Orchard Park. And the 7-point spread is just way too much. If this was a 3-point spread, I would take the Bills to cover, but it's 7. I like the Colts to cover. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think they can cover the 7. I think they lose by 6 or 3, maybe 4. I could see a 31-27 game, something like that. But I'm taking the Colts to cover that hefty 7-point spread. What do you like, Justin?
Yeah, so the Bills, as you alluded to a few minutes ago, Chris, when we were talking about the Patriots, but, the Bills have not run away with the AFC like I think a lot of people predicted after they absolutely housed the Chiefs. That was kind of a game they had circled on their calendar dating back to last year's AFC Championship. And they roll the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and it's like, okay, here we go. The Bills are the team to beat. They have the best defense in football. Josh Allen is an MVP candidate. Here we go. And they've kind of, they had that really bad loss to the Jaguars. Their offense is kind of, got stuck in the mud a few times. And you just look at their last 3 games against bad opponents. And I don't think we've learned much about the Bills. And I just think they're just a team that has not reached that peak that they had last year. You're still kind of waiting for them to turn on the Jets on offense. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to wipe the slate clean because they beat up on the lowly New York Jets. I just think we don't really, still 10 weeks into the season, we don't know who the Bills are on offense. And quietly for the Colts side, Carson Wentz has had a really nice season, 17 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. I think a lot of people kind of buried him the way he was playing at the beginning of the year. He's actually having a really nice season. The Colts are still kind of in the mix in the AFC South and for one of those wild card spots. So 7 points is a big spread for the Bills, who, again, I have not been impressed with. And as you said, the Colts went into Buffalo in the playoffs last year with a different quarterback, as you mentioned, but that was a really tight game. So I kind of like the Colts to keep it within 7 here.
All right. Great minds think alike. Our next game, your Green Bay Packers going on the road to Minnesota. Obviously, as we all know, the Packers got Aaron Rodgers back last week and shut out the hapless Seattle Seahawks. The Vikings went into Los Angeles and did a good job against the Chargers. And this is what kind of this is to me the toughest game of the week to pick. Really, really, really is. Again, Packers had a nice win last week. Okay. And they scored 17 points, but their offense, you could say, struggled a little bit at the beginning of the game. Okay. Vikings coming off a great win on the road. Now they're back at home. So there's some things here. Recency bias. I mean, obviously, Minnesota looks pretty darn good. They're coming off a great win and everything. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? Yeah, I say yes. I like the Vikings as a home underdog. Division game, to use the old cliche, so the opponents know each other very well. Justin shaking his head, laughing at me. Look, Vikings a home dog. I like that. As a certain Vikings quarterback has been known to said, I like that. So Vikings, I like the Vikings to cover the 2.5. Robert is picking your Packers to cover the 2.5. So go ahead, Justin. Who do you like? As if I didn't already know.
Hey, Chris, I get your logic. The Vikings, as I've said all year, they have talented players. I've picked them more often than not when we've talked about them on the video. They are a home underdog. They can put up points for sure. But you're telling me you're going to bet on Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers? Come on, You're just asking for trouble. The Packers are the best team against the spread this year. They're 9-1 against the spread. Okay. They've covered 9 straight weeks. Okay, they have not blown a spread since they got housed by the Saints week 1 in that miserable game. The Packers have a really good defense. They've had lesser defenses give Kirk Cousins a lot of trouble since he's been in Minnesota. I will grant you, they have had their struggles in Minnesota, especially in this new stadium that they opened in 2016. The Packers have won there twice, but one of those was last year when there was no fans. So I'm really curious to see kind of how they handle that crowd noise. It's given them trouble. But I'm not, 2.5 points is not that big of a line, even though, the Packers kicking game is certainly giving me anxiety every time Mason Crosby lines up for a field goal. So I hope it doesn't come down to a field goal at the end of the game. I'll be a little worried. But listen, the Packers are too good against the spread. They're the number 1 seed in the conference for a reason. And I just don't trust Kirk Cousins to make a colossal mistake. So I'm going to take the Packers as you predicted, Chris.
Yes, I already wrote your initial down on this one. All right, our next game, the Cincinnati Bengals, 1-point road favorites at the Raiders. Boy, I'll tell you, this could be a good game. This game's got some potential. Carr and Burrow, and look, the Bengals have been up and down. The Bengals have looked great, and then they looked like absolute garbage, like they did last week. In the Raiders, I mean, again, here's a team that just looked like absolute garbage recently. It's one of those like, will the real team stand up with who they really are? Look, I think the Raiders are definitely, all the distractions, all the off the field stuff is catching up to them now. I know I'm going to regret this one. I know I am, but I'm going to take the Bengals to cover the 1. It's really all they got to do is just win by more than 1. It's not that big a spread. Yeah, the Raiders could win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I'm going with the Bengals. Robert is also picking the Bengals. So go ahead, Justin. Who do you like?
Well, I think this is a very tough game to predict because, like you said, these are 2 teams that you really don't know what they're going to do every single week.
Show up.
The week that you feel good about the Bengals, like they beat the Ravens really bad a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, oh, here are the Bengals. Wow, look at all this talent. And then they lose the Jets and they get crushed by the Browns, and they had a bye week last week. So it's just a team that there's a lot of unknowns, still a young football team, and that's probably why they're so inconsistent. And then the Raiders, who really had a chance to stamp themselves in the AFC West and really had no answer for a Chiefs team that has kind of stunk for over a month. So I guess the fact that the Raiders are home underdogs, I think there's no way they can play as bad as they did last week. I don't know what to make of the Bengals. I don't know what to make of the Raiders. So in that case, I'll just take the home underdog. I think Derek Carr, that was a weird game too. Like Deshaun Jackson had that weird play where he inexplicably just turned around when he had a breakaway to the end zone. Like, I don't know what that was, but I like the Raiders, I guess, because I have no answer for either of these teams. So give me the home dog.
Okay. Well, I just want to check something with our standings here. I just want to make sure I'm not screwing anything up here. Let's see. So, okay. I thought I wrote a 9 for Robert as a 4, though. So, all right. Our last game. I'm just thinking out loud. Never mind me. Our last game, the Dallas Cowboys at the Kansas City Chiefs. For trivia buffs, is if you know your NFL history or your AFL history, you know that Kansas City started off as the Dallas Texans before moving to Kansas City in 1963 to become the Chiefs. So Dallas was a 2-football team town for a few years there in the early 60s. Cowboys at the Chiefs. Chiefs are 2.5-point favorite. Robert is picking the Chiefs to cover the 2.5. Yeah, Chiefs looked great last week. I mean, that was definitely the Chiefs that we know and love. If you love the Chiefs, they came out gangbusters, put a whomping on the Raiders, and everybody's like, "Hey, the Chiefs are back." Not so fast. They're playing the Cowboys. Cowboys are not slouches. Okay. I think the Cowboys did a pretty good job on the Falcons last week. I like the Cowboys to cover. I think they can go into Kansas City, and I think they can beat the Chiefs, much less cover the 2.5. So I'm going with the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott. The defense, I think, is going to be the key, though. Look, the Cowboys don't have the best defense in the league, but I think they have one of the better defenses in the league. So I think they can slow down Mahomes enough. But, let's put it this way. If I was going to bet the total on this game, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head, I'd be betting the over. I think this is going to be a shootout type game. I could see a 35-30 type game, that kind of thing. But I like the Cowboys to go into Arrowhead and pull off the upset, and definitely cover that 2.5 against Kansas City. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say the Chiefs are back either. I think the Raiders defense is not a very good unit. They have a really weak secondary. And they play the kind of defense, the way to beat the Chiefs is you just sit back and you force them to dink and duck down the field and, pray that Patrick Mahomes gets impatient and throws a bad ball. And he's been doing that a lot for the last month, but then the Raiders inexplicably did not, that's just not their style of defense. And they got burned for it. So I think the Cowboys, like you said, they're not the best defense, but I think they're just a smarter football team than the Raiders. And their offense is as good as any in football. I don't think the Chiefs have the horses in the secondary to corral the Cowboys receivers. Zeke Elliott's had a nice season, even though he looked washed, week 1. Tony Pollard's a nice running back option too. And Dak Prescott is, I think it's fair to say, the way a lot of these quarterbacks have played lately, Dak has been the most consistently good quarterback this season. His numbers are really good. He's my MVP pick at this point in the season. I thought he was a shoo-in to win comeback player of the year. He's even outdoing that. So, the Cowboys are right there to take that number 1 seed in the NFC. They're only a win behind the Packers because they've already had their bye. Green Bay hasn't. So, I like the Cowboys to go on the road here and not only cover, but I like them to win this game. And you know what this season, I just want to say, Chris, the way this season is shaping up, what's going to happen in the NFC Championship game. We're going to have Cowboys, Packers, Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, a remix of the Ice Bowl with an added twist. Old boy Mike McCarthy making his return to Lambeau Field to face the prodigal son, Aaron Rodgers. We all know how that divorce ended. It's just shaped. That's how this season is shaping up. And for that to happen, I think the Cowboys need to get a big win here. And I think they will.
That'd be a great storyline, no doubt about it. So, all righty, sir. You ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, Chris, I got to give you credit. The Dolphins had their biggest win of the season last week, and really the most surprising win, of the season, I think. And you didn't even talk about them. So I thought for sure your takeaway was just going to be a Dolphins, oh, what a win, blah, blah, blah. They're so excited about the team. And you didn't go that direction. So I'm proud of you.
Well, thanks.
Maybe
And I did.
Scruffy Shearer. He's taking things in a new light.
Yeah, we'll see how the beard goes. But as for the Dolphins, I did mention it briefly at the beginning of my takeaways, just because it was an upset. And real quickly, I will say that look, it was a great win. The defense played stellar. They played the Jets this week. I mean, a lot of Dolphin fans are hesitantly like, ooh, we could win the next four, because they play the Jets twice, the Giants, and of course now the Panthers have Cam Newton back, which is not going to be an easy game. But conceivably, the Dolphins could go 7-7 going, after their bye and everything, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. And if they're 7-7, they're in the playoff picture. I'm not ready to say that that's going to happen. I literally am the one game at a time with this team, because they could put up a stinkeroo. I mean, look, if they're a good team, they should go in and absolutely blow the doors off the Jets. Okay. The Jets are horrible. Their defense is horrible. The defense has given up over 40 points, I think 3 out of the last 4 weeks. First time that's happened in the NFL in decades. So if the Dolphins go into the Meadowlands and only score 20 and win 20-6 or something, Joe Flacco is the starter. And I don't think that's going to do any good for the Jets, because the Dolphins put it to them last year. Even if the Dolphins win this game, if they go in and they blow out the Jets, and maybe I'll start to say, okay, maybe this team is starting to put things together, as much as late as it is. But my hunch is they're going to struggle. It's going to be a close game. They could lose this game. I mean, Tua's got to play smart. He's got a bad thumb. We'll see how that continues to heal. So I'm not ready to start jumping up and down that like this team is going to make some noise at the end of the season. I'm very, very hesitant, and I know how this team has played all year, and I know what they're capable of when they're not playing their best, and it's not pretty. And like I said, we'll see, but I'm not getting my hopes up by any means.
I'm an impartial observer when it comes to the Dolphins, obviously, but I did watch the game last week, and it's like, I'm not going to like lie and say I've watched a ton of Dolphins football this year, but you watch that game and it's like, this defense is like, they're flying to the ball, like they're tough, they're physical, like because obviously they haven't been like that all year. So it's got to be like infuriating as a fan of the team to be like, why is this showing up?
Yeah.
Why? Like, where has this been?
Here's
Ryan Flores, you're a defensive coach. Like, why is the team not playing like this every single week? Because if they did, we're not talking as much about Tua, and he can kind of be a game manager and develop and just gain that valuable experience. But instead, because the defense has kind of been like whatever this year, the spotlight's been on him. And so, they really, in two ways, kind of ruined your season by, not playing up to their capabilities, and also, really putting a lot more pressure on a quarterback that probably wasn't ready for prime time.
Well, I was going to say the conspiracy theories out there in regards to the Dolphins defense, why all of a sudden they've resumed their 2020 form, is that there's conspiracy theories. I hate to say conspiracy theories, but there's just talk that Brian Flores is calling the defenses now, that Josh Boyer, no relation to Jeremy Boyer, our editor, the defensive coordinator of the Dolphins is no longer calling the defenses, and that Flores is doing it. And that's why the Dolphins defense has played better the last couple of weeks. So I don't know whether to believe that or not. I mean, you don't know what's going on with these teams, exactly who's calling what and whatever. I mean, the Dolphins have 2 offensive coordinators. I mean, we don't even know who's calling the plays there. Supposedly it's the quarterback's coach. I mean, if the QB coach is calling the plays, why do you need 2 offensive coordinators? It just doesn't make sense. Another reason why the Dolphins are dysfunctional.
That's weird.
It is weird. So yeah, look, it's great to see it. I'm glad that they showed up for prime time, because usually when they play a prime time game, they lay a big egg. And when they play the Ravens, 2 years ago, they played the Ravens, they lost 59-10. Okay. I mean, it was 42-0 at the half. So the Ravens have always been the Dolphins' kryptonite. So just to get a win against the Ravens, it was their first win in 6 years against Baltimore. And I think only their second win against Baltimore since 2007. Not that they're playing against each other every year, but I mean, when you beat Baltimore Miami beat Baltimore, it's a big deal, because they don't do it that often, and they usually get blown out. So it'll be interesting to see if they can continue this against the Jets. One game at a time, though, pumping the brakes, not getting excited. there's still a lot of teams, a lot of games left, a lot of things can happen. So we'll see. So
well, they're 1-0 with Scruff Shearer. So
well,
I think you should just throw that baby out until they
actually, you know, it's funny. They're 2-0. I haven't shaved in almost 2 weeks.
There you go.
And, 12 days actually is the last time I shaved. So they've won both games since I've started growing the beard. So who knows? Maybe crazy as it is, maybe that's the key. I just let this baby grow, continue on and see what happens. Although I don't think that's gonna, mean they're gonna win the rest of their games. But hey, strange things have happened. So, all righty, Justin. Thanks again for running the controls. Appreciate that. Robert, hope you get to see this video somehow, someplace, maybe between your midnight 3 a.m. feedings of Layla. You'll have a chance to watch us, and we miss you. Seriously, we do miss you. We can wait till you come back, and appreciate your help as always, Robert. So, Justin, talk to you later. Have a good night, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. See ya.